I want to welcome you to the concurrent session, How Globalization Impacts the Institution of Family. I'm Diane Dawson from the USA, and I'm happy to be your moderator this afternoon for this panel. We had just some wonderful presentations this morning, and certainly as I have committed myself to the vision of one family under God, I know that we have a lot of work to do in terms of addressing some of the issues that our families face, no matter where they may live on the globe. And this afternoon we have a wonderful panel representing Malaysia, India, and the USA. And one of the things that we want to do this afternoon is really make this an interactive session. So we are going to have an opportunity to not only hear the speakers present from their perspective on the issues of global development and technology and other issues that are impacting on our families, but we also want to make sure that we have an opportunity to have input from you, from the audience, around these issues. So let us begin. Our first speaker of the day will be Dr. Anjali Doshi Gandhi. She and I were discussing, I think her position was a lot like the counterpart position that I had in the USA until January, when I worked for the Administration for Children and Families at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Anjali, who is the Deputy Director General of the National Population and Family Development Board in Malaysia, Ministry of Women, Family, and Community Development. She's had more than 30 years experience as a trainer and educator in the areas of marriage, parenting, and family life. So will you join me in welcoming Dr. Anjali?
Thank you very much, Diane, for the introduction. Diane Dawson, the moderator for this session, my fellow panelists, distinguished delegates. A very good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon. Hope you had a good lunch. And usually they say this is the most challenging session. By looking at all of you all, I think we'll have a very interactive and interesting discussion. First of all, I also like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this Global Peace Convention 2013 for having invited me on behalf of my organization to share our experiences on how globalization impacts the family institution, Malaysia's experiences in strengthening families. As we all know, over the past decade, especially with reference to Malaysia, rapid transitions in families have taken place due to globalization, urbanization, the development, industrialization, etc. And there's so many changes that have happened in our families, especially in the context of Malaysia. Recognizing that families have undergone and continuously experienced change in response to the globalization process, and the impact of it has been widespread as far as Malaysian families are concerned. We do admit that with globalization and ICT development and all that, there's better communication with members who can be anywhere, and in that sense not physically present. However, never have changes been so rapid as we now live in a borderless world where development in the external environment can immediately impact on the personal lives of families. Globalization in general brings advantages and positive changes to families, but it also creates risks and conflicts that must be anticipated and adapted to. Ladies and gentlemen, the spread of globalization will undoubtedly bring changes to the countries it reaches. but changes are inevitable and an essential part of life. The complexities of modern living can make people change their perceptions towards marriage and family, choices of whether they want to get married, when they want to get married, career choices, work-life balance issues, etc., which are partly due to the effects of globalization. But families, we have to confront these changes and learn how to cope and deal with the challenges of globalization and development. So hence my presentation will be more on some of our experiences and what we have done to address these challenges. Many of these transformations due to globalization call into question the very structure and sustainability of society as we know it. They require us to work together to strengthen families and to address the needs of families to ensure family and societal well-being. There's a need to build an environment that sustains and supports families while reinforcing the opportunities for fulfillment that strong and positive family life provides. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, my presentation will focus a little bit on the demographic profile of Malaysia to give an idea of the type of challenges that we are facing, some of the impact of globalization on Malaysian families, the role of the government vis-a-vis the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development, and my organization, which is an agency under the ministry, the National Population and Family Development Board, and its role in family development. The way forward, some ideas or suggestions for us to consider, and that's basically the context of my presentation. If you look at our profile of population in Malaysia, we see we are a fairly young population, which is about 28 million people, and most of the population is in the about 30% is in below 12 years of age. Then we have the working age population, but we are going towards an aging society as well. In terms of participation, population growth rate is about 2.3% based on our latest census, and the median age of the population is about 25 years. One of the changes which we are facing is that the mean age of marriage has also gone up. It's about 28 years for males and about 26 for females. In terms of nuclear families, we find that more and more families are nuclear as they migrate to the cities and the urban areas. Then we find that, and this will have an impact on the family structure as well. And the household size is also on a downward trend. And the number of working women is about 48 to 49% in the labor force. Out of these, about 58% of the women are married. So, ladies and gentlemen, some of the changing family structures or types that we are seeing today emerging is the conventional families where you had more extended families is on a downward trend. We have also single-member households. But the new types of family structures which we are seeing are dual career families, that we have both the husbands and wives working, commuter families who work away and meet maybe during weekends or during the monthly periods, blended families, this is due to single parent families, divorce, separation, etc. And then sandwich families, because we are going towards an aging population, an increased age at marriage, etc. So you find families who have to take care of their older family members or their parents as well as their young children. So they have this double responsibilities of looking at both the needs of both generations. And when we say touch and go, because of career needs, you hardly meet each other or you work on shifts and all that. So we call that touch and go. It's the card that we use when we travel on our highways. So you just swipe your card and go. So it's touch and go type of families. Solely a Malaysian creation. Double income, no kids. This is what we are also looking probably in the next. We try to avoid that trend, but it may come to our shores as well, where people may look at getting married but maybe no kids. And we're also looking at a lot of families who are at risk, vulnerable to many challenges due to globalization. Okay, just a synopsis of some of the core problems which we are facing today among families. When we talk about families and problems and challenges, they are not very different the world over. Some of the common ones are related to changing values, structure, pressures of complex family responsibilities, and lack of support system. And as families struggle to solve their problems and are constantly looking for new approaches and skills to make their families function better and be resilient. The big challenge, ladies and gentlemen, is how to sustain and maintain a healthy family institution. A family that is strong and healthy is manifested in its functioning. The inability of families to adjust and cope with the challenges and demands of a rapidly changing environment has indirectly contributed to family instability and dysfunction, as well as the social problems plaguing our society today. Thus, many of our government plans, programs are focusing on people as a center of development. People is the main core focus. We want a balanced development, economic as well as societal or social development. And these are some of the issues which we have looked at it from the perspective of the family life cycle. And at every cycle, we see, even at children, we have issues like abuse, neglect. Then among the adolescents, we have issues like out of wedlock births because of the challenges of introducing sexuality education. There's a big ongoing debate, but thankfully we have managed to look at it from the reproductive health perspective, and we are going into programs to help youth to be equipped with skills and knowledge and how to deal with social issues, drug issues, impact of ICT and media, influence of foreign values, etc. So we cannot we have to help them cope with the challenges that they are facing, and that's where we have our education programs. If you look at husband and wives, we have the relationship, infidelity, divorce becoming an issue, as well as relationship problems because of the pressures of both of them working. Parents, based on research, they say they are having problems dealing with their adolescents, financial issues, and work-life balance issues. These are some of the core issues that they say they face, and they need some skills to deal with. Among the elderly as well, we find that they complain of loneliness because of their old structure where it was extended family, and now quite a number of them are staying on their own or with their spouse. So an issue of loneliness, financial stability, as well as health issues. So these are some of the challenges which are confronting us today. In terms of globalization, just to recap what I just said, we need to continuously recognize and uphold the institution of family, and we make sure that is holistic development of the individual and the family as well. We need to look at issues of work-life balance, and we have different forms of family structures, so interventions have to be tailored to meet the needs of different family structures, and societal support and delivery systems need to be enhanced to help families cope with their challenges. Some additional challenges, as I mentioned, in globalization has a very widespread impact and cuts across every area of your life. And more efforts are needed to facilitate women entering the workforce. If you look at our universities, almost 68% are women, but we find that a lot of them tend to quit the workforce after a certain number of years, and some of the challenges they face is especially childcare support facilities, family responsibilities, or some say their husbands want them to quit and all that. So we need to have the support system to enable them to contribute to the economic development of the country as well. And these are some of the issues of crimes, domestic violence, increase in HIV/AIDS, etc., which is also becoming more rampant in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, family is, we look at family very seriously, and we consider them as, and we look in terms of context of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Section 16, which says that a family is entitled to protection by society and the state. So hence, the government is very serious and concerned about the challenges which are facing the family institution in Malaysia. As we know, the family is the one which provides the basic needs of the individual for food, shelter, care, besides education, health and welfare. The family is the agent which plays the primary role in laying the foundation for a healthy community, society and nation. However, when families break down and fail to provide the support for their members, the effects reverberate across society. So we need to look at family and make sure we provide the necessary interventions and support to our family institution. Let me go into some of the, in the context of time, I'll be a little bit brief, but Malaysia is one of the few countries, I would say, that has come out with a very explicit policy on family, which is the National Family Policy, which was out in 2011. And its focus, goal is to develop prosperous, healthy and resilient families to ensure social stability. The three strategic thrusts of the family policy is to increase the commitment and involvement of various stakeholders and to prioritize the family perspective in all national development efforts. The second perspective is to ensure that policies, procedures and enforcement of laws prioritize the family perspective. So we are going to look at existing laws, regulations and policies to make sure they are family friendly. And the third trust is to ensure that programs, services and family friendly facilities are accessible to everybody. So these are the goals of the National Family Policy, and we have a lot of players. We use the 3P perspective or strategy, where the people, the public and the private sector are all involved in ensuring the implementation of the National Family Policy Plan of Action. Excuse me. Okay, next. We also come up with many family-friendly initiatives to support the family institution, 90 days of paid maternity leave in the government sector, paternity leave as well, 7 days for fathers to take care of their wife and newborn child, but we hope they don't abuse that privilege and go golf or fishing or something like that. Paid compassionate leave if any family member dies, flexible working hours, creche at the workplace, subsidies for childcare. We provide a certain subsidy for the lower income public sectors, civil servants and tax deductions as well. These are some of the latest policies that came out in our budget 2014, looking at family, more flexi working arrangements, economic empowerment movement and childcare center at workplace. Excuse me. Okay. One Malaysia Family First is a movement to develop prosperous, healthy and resilient families to ensure social stability. And this is the brainchild of none other than our Prime Minister. He feels that all government agencies will work with the private sector to implement programs to strengthen the family institution. And it was a program that out of this program we also have National Family Month, which is in the month of November, where we have various family activities and programs conducted. Excuse me. So everybody is to increase the commitment on family issues and family agenda. In terms of programs, we also have strengthening of marriage institution, a Smart Start pre-marriage program, which is provided free to encourage couples who are going to get married to go for this program. And it's a 2-day program. We empower NGOs to conduct this program for us, trained facilitators, so that, because the foundation of a strong family depends on a strong marriage, so we start with the marriage and to strengthen the marital relationship before they can in turn empower and strengthen their family institution. In addition to this, we have also many other family education programs One interesting program is the Parenting at Work program, is to help couples, especially dual career couples, to deal with their work-life balance challenges and issues. And we also do it at the workplace, and the intention of this program is to get more males on board, because normally when we conduct our sorry, very bad throat. When we conduct our parenting programs, it's usually women who come. More than 70-80% are women. So when we do this program, we tell the employers, you must get at least 40% of your participants must be males, and we have succeeded in doing that. If not, men tend to go for financial management, computer, strategic planning, etc. But you say this is equally important, and you have to go for these courses as well. On adolescent reproductive health, we have programs in schools as well as in our national service program to equip adolescents with the right reproductive health skills so that they can cope with their challenges as well. And we have some outreach programs called the Cafe 18 program at our centers as well. Besides this, we have also come up with a lot of family support services. We have one-stop family centers which we provide all the services that are listed, like counseling, programs, training of trainers, and we allow NGOs and whoever wants to use the facilities to conduct their programs as well. We do home visits and conduct counseling services, mediation, etc. as well throughout the country. We have about 58 centers. Okay, I'd just like to share before I end. We also have come up with a Malaysian Family Wellbeing Index. Again, one of the first few countries who have come out with this Malaysian Family Wellbeing Index, so that we can measure and evaluate how we are doing in terms of the programs, policies, and its impact on the family institution. And just to share with you, the main objective of this Family Wellbeing Index was to build a set of indicators to measure the well-being of Malaysian families. Sometimes we get issues of telling us what is your return of investment. If you are saying you are effective, why do you still have social problems and all that? So we need to have some, although we can tell them about its intangible results, but we also have to have some statistical information to prove that we need a lot of resources to help families strengthen. To monitor family well-being trends, and as well as to identify priorities for action. Just to share, our well-being definition is a holistic definition, and well-being which covers many specific areas. This is a sort of a definition that works well for Malaysia, and in terms of family satisfaction, happiness, good family interaction, family functioning, and family resilience. These are some of the core areas which we find they are quite important if you want to strengthen Malaysian families. Based on our index, these are some of the domains. There were 7 key domains with 23 indicators which we used. One of them was family relationships, family economy, family health, family safety, family community, family and religion and spirituality, housing and environment. Which were based on a lot of engagement with the public, the universities, with families, etc. This is based on getting feedback as well, and we found that for Malaysia at this moment, these are some of the core domains which were found to be significant to Malaysian families and which had an impact on their family well-being. In terms of our index, this is the score which we got. The Family Wellbeing Index score was 7.55 out of 10, and it's a work in progress. We hope to go higher, but we found that, which is true based on other data as well, that the family's economic situation had almost the lowest score of 6.9, and that's true with the higher cost of living. We need to look at that as well. But religion had the highest score of 8.25, which is again their importance given to religion. Community, in terms of their involvement in their community participation. Family safety, if you look at socially what are some of the issues, so that it didn't do that well as well. And family health, in terms of Okay, thank you. I'm ending. Okay, so just to summarize some of the, thank you so much. Some of the challenges we would look at in terms of, for us, in terms of planning our programs, would be initiating more family-friendly policies that promote work-life balance, changing family systems and its consequences, more research as well, and the impact of globalization. Maybe we need to do more studies and find out what more we can help to address these challenges, and financial management programs. The way forward, what we need to do would be look at lessons from existing programs, enhance existing programs or improve on them, utilization of social media as well to strengthen families, resource mobilization, to be alert to emerging trends, and improve monitoring and evaluation. In terms of our outcome, this is what we expect. Family well-being towards social stability. Excuse me, sorry. So these are the 6 areas we are looking: family perspective, family values, strengthening the family institution, meeting the parenting needs of families, strong foundations for adolescents, and family support services. We hope to be a high-income country with a very high happiness index, hopefully by 2020. So maybe from 7.55 we go to 9 maybe, or even 10. And in conclusion, I just say thank you very much for your attention. Sorry for my voice trouble. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Anjali. That was very impressive, and your country is quite progressive in many of the areas in terms of striking that work-family balance, and so we look forward to hearing more about it. What we're going to do is we're going to have each of the speakers present, and then we will open it up for questions and the Q&A session. So at this time, I'd like to present our second speaker, Dr. Ramesh Ray. Did I get that right? He is the Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Political Science in TNB Law College in Bhagalpur University, Bhagalpur, India, where he obtained both a master's and a PhD degree. He is a member of the University Teachers Association and is a passionate supporter of Save Ganga River, eradication of poverty and illiteracy programs, and removal of dowry systems from the society through community service, national service schemes, and other related programs. Dr. Rai, would you come forward?
Respected Chairman, sir, people, ladies and gentlemen, and my friends. Let me first thank the organizers of this program, Dr. Jin Moon, Mrs. Jin Moon, and the whole Global World Organization. I remember one thing from Gita. Gita, a holy book, says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam dharmasya tadatmanam sriyamyaham paritrāṇāya sadhūnām vināṣāya ca duṣṣikhatāṃ dharma sansthapanārthāya sambhavami yuge yuge. God says, when there is decline in religion, when there is decline of human values in society, when demonic forces are on rise, when the gentle forces are in decline, God comes on the earth and to save humanity. Or He sends His angels perhaps Dr. Moon and this organization has come here on the earth to save the humanity, to establish peace. Thank you. Thank you very much. But here I want to narrate some my personal experiences from Indian society. Globalization definitely has given a lot of things: prosperity, wealth, for which we are running. But the question is, after involving ourselves in this process of globalization, we have started learning a lot. We have started living a lavish life. In spite of all these things, are we happy? Question is, are we happy? No. We are running a materialistic race. We are running such an endless race, participating in such an endless race. I don't find where is its end. We have derived our values from Mahatma Buddha, Mahavir, Mahatma Gandhi ji. They taught us, we have derived our values, simple living and high thinking. Only then you can have mental peace. This materialistic race cannot lead you to a conclusive end. You cannot find materialistic race. We are getting everything, but where we are? Globalization has given on one hand prosperity, money, satisfaction, but not satisfaction. Worst sufferers in my society are the family system, the senior citizens, old persons, ladies, children, and the institution of marriage. These things are on very risk. I find that joint family system is breaking. Joint family system is breaking because the people in search of wealth in this race of globalization are living separately. Husband is working somewhere else, wife is working somewhere else. What about children? They are sent to hostel. I've experienced that when the boys, sons and daughters start living in different countries, different places, parents live in India, they are waiting for the help in old age, but they are unable to find it. Even children don't have time to perform their last rites. People keep on waiting. Son and daughters will come and perform their last rites, help them in old age. But what about them? They keep on waiting. Sometimes I find that people die and their wards, their sons and daughters do not reach India to perform their rites, last rites. I remember there was my one colleague, he was a principal in my university. His wife was head of department of a postgraduate department. When the husband died, the son arrived from Canada after 3-4 days. We have, in the Hindu way of life, we have certain rituals. We perform the last rite and we pray to God continuously for 12-13 days, very full process. But when the son came there, he had no time and he took a shortcut, performed all his duties within 3 days, went back. And last rite was performed by his wife. In Hindu family system, the son has right to perform the last rites of his father. But there was compulsion, son could not reach, and the wife had to perform last rites. He had to light the fire. This is the situation we are facing there. I don't know where this family is going, where the system is going. Marriage is a holy institution in our system. And elders have to play a very important role in marriage. Elders settle the marriage, and when in Hindu religious system we perform marriage ceremony, we take second rounds of holy fire, and we promise husband and wife both promise with each other that yes, we will continue this married life till the end of the day, and again we shall reborn and remarry. 7 rounds means 7 lives. Continuously we will born, get remarried, live in family system, and then this is minimum promise we do with each other. But nowadays the institution of marriage has been threatened. Elders are being neglected. The boy and girls work in different countries, different places, they settle their marriage on their own. Intercaste marriages, interstate marriages, interreligion marriages are taking place. The worst thing is the next generation which is coming on this earth is in very bad shape. We are producing dumb babies, confused babies. There is nobody to look after the babies because mother is working somewhere else, father is working at another place, the baby is in the hostel. But before going to hostel, baby is in the house, in the hands of female servant or male servant. Sometimes mother of the wife comes to look after the baby, sometimes mother of husband comes. Suppose both are from different cultures, different languages, baby is linguistically so confused that she or he doesn't speak. Reality is baby is 7 years old, 8 years old and doesn't speak. We are facing that problem. Older people, you have seen. Reality is babies have become byproduct of pleasure. People are neglecting babies. Meanwhile, a new thing has emerged, dowry system. For the sake of female babies, you have to pay dowry. This is very bad. What happens? Because we have to pay dowry, we don't have sufficient money. What we do? Pre-birth sex determination tests have started. The moment people come to know, the female baby is coming, female foeticide is there. These are problems we are facing very badly in India. What is solution? We will have, I think, we will have to go back again to our Vedas, our ancient system, where our ancestors, our forefathers, our angels have taught us simple living and high thinking. We will have to deprive this mad race of materialism. We will have to inculcate our old values, traditional values. I remember a story, small story. There was a king. He wanted to be most rich person of the world. He prayed God, "Oh God, help me." God came, asked, "Yes, what do you want?" He said, "Give me one blessing." Okay? God was ready to bless him. "What do you want?" "Oh God, bless me. Whatever I touch, be converted into gold." God blessed him. Okay? Then he was very happy. He touched his throne first. The throne was converted into gold. He became happy. Again he touched his bed. But the moment he felt hungry, when he touched his food, the food was converted into gold. He was in problem. Accidentally he touched his wife and son both. Wife and son converted into gold. He was saddest man in the world. Again he started praying God to revert back the blessing. God said, "Whatever you demand, think before this. I want to submit that whatever we are going to do, when we start running this mad race of materialism, let us think whether this race is proper or not. Where this race is leading us to go, where we are going. Wealth is not our ultimate goal. With wealth, with prosperity, definitely money is good source of living. Some amount of money is required for us. But the best thing we have learned from Mahatma Gandhi, Lord Buddha, Mahatma Buddha, he was son of a king. He had everything. He had throne, he had gold. What he had not? Then why denounce his throne? Why went in the forest? And when he became happy, Lord Buddha was happiest when he was enlightened. He was not happy when he was waiting for the throne as a prince. Here, I have to submit. I have to request you all. Let us have some wealth for living, but we should definitely think what is value of sacrifice. Love, sacrifice, donation, and compassion for others is diminishing, vanishing. We will have to establish love. We will have to sacrifice. Let us think what we are doing for others. Why do we expect what others are doing for us? We should not expect from others. I have to submit that let us adopt one-way traffic. One-way traffic. Give and give to others. Don't expect anything from others. Only then we can be able to sustain a peaceful, happy life. Happiness may come, definitely it will come through simple living and high thinking. It may come through donation, it may come through sacrifice. Think, whenever you give something, some help to others, what do you feel? Suppose, whenever you take something from others, then what do you think? How do you feel? I am sure there is a definite difference between giving and taking. My opinion is, let us inculcate our old values. Let us care for. We had a value. We Indian society today we are talking about equal rights to women. We are talking about women should be helped. Women should be. We had old value in which we had established yatra narestu pujyante ramante tatra devata. Where ladies are worshipped, God lives there. This is written in our religion. Where ladies are worshipped, God lives there. Ladies were in very high spirit in our culture, Indian culture. There was goddess Sita, goddess Durga, Adishakti, source of power. Whenever gods were in trouble, goddess Durga came and helped them. Ladies, female power, they were more powerful than male. Today, we are talking about these things. We are talking about how should we stop overconsumption? If we stop overconsumption, we will feed several nations, millions of people. But Mahatma Gandhi taught us this lesson 80 years back, a parigrah. A parigrah was his theory. Don't take more than what is required for you. What do you need for living? What do we need for living? To live in a one-room flat, we need one bed, two piece of clothes. We need 8-10 breads to live. But what we are doing? If I have a car, I want a Mercedes. If I have a Mercedes, you want something else. These things are not going to end. And I am sure these things will not send us to a pleasant life. Let us inculcate hope. Let us inculcate our old values. Let us teach our children moral values. Definitely, we should establish a system of teaching moral values in our schools. We should teach our younger generation studying in university the issue of sacrifice, the social service. Only then a happy family life, a happy family, a happy world can be established. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rai. And our last speaker, give him a moment. Sure. Okay. All right. While we're having a little technical difficulty, but we're going to move forward. Our last speaker is Mr. Kenneth Braswell. He is the Executive Director of Fathers Incorporated, a nonprofit organization promoting responsible fatherhood and mentoring. Mr. Braswell is also the Director of the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse, a widely recognized national and international resource for fathers, practitioners, and policymakers. He is from the USA.
So good to have more than one talent, right? Good afternoon. Let's try that again. Good afternoon. Just want to make sure that we are all attentive to what's going on this afternoon in talking about family. I am honored to be in the country of Malaysia. This is one beautiful country. I've been all over the world. I think that I have met the kind of hospitality here that I have not. Let's put it this way. You guys treat me better than my own family treat me in my own house. My wife heard me say that. She would kill me. And so I want to thank the Global Peace Foundation for inviting me here. Diane Dawson, Alan, and my esteemed panel, Dr. Gandhi and Dr. Rai, thank you so much. I have about 15 minutes and I have my clock running, so I'm going to be in and out very quickly. And so, how is everybody feeling? All right, let me wake you up. Let me tell you a quick story before I get into my first slide. And so, there's this woman who lives on the top of a hill. And it was a mansion on the top of the hill. And in her house this particular weekend, she happened to be having a party. And all of you were at the party. And inside of this woman's house, she had a pool. And inside of the pool was not an ordinary pool. It wasn't a pool that we all swim in, that we like to swim. Inside of this pool was sharks and dangerous snakes and piranhas and all kinds of things that eat people were inside of her pool. And so the woman comes out and she stops the party and she says, I'll give anyone in the party $1 million if they swim from this end of the pool to the other end of the pool and back. And everybody said, this woman must be crazy. We're not jumping in this pool. So the party started again. She came back. She stopped the party. She said, I will give anybody $5 million if they jump in the pool on this side, swim to that side, and back. And everybody said, this woman is crazy. We're not jumping in this pool. Party continued. She comes back and she says, I will give anyone in the room $50 million if they jump into the pool from one side, swim to the other, and come back. And everybody said, nah, this woman is crazy. When she turned around, there was a big splash. And everybody turned and they looked in the pool, and this guy was in the pool and he was swimming. And he was swimming for his life. And he got to the other end of the pool, and he turned around and he came and he got back to the other end of the pool, and he climbed out of the pool. And everybody was cheering him, and the woman said, you've won the $50 million. I didn't think anybody could do it. And he said to her, woman, I don't want your $50 million. All I want is the person who pushed me in here. I knew that would get you. And so oftentimes when people ask me how did I get into the work that I do, that's how I got in. Someone pushed me in. And I find myself in this pool every day. swimming past man-eating sharks and piranhas and all kinds of other things, trying to push this notion of, am I pushing this right? Okay, I think that's the next one. Anyway, if it stops again, I'm not going to try to fix it. This gives me the opportunity to do what I do best, and that's talk. And so, oftentimes when people ask me how I get into this work, I say that, it wasn't anything I went to school for. It wasn't anything that I was trained for. It wasn't anything that someone told me to do. Somehow God guided my path in this way that I ended up in this space where I became very concerned about men, and particularly about fathers. And about 10 years ago, I began this company called Fathers Incorporated. And I did it at a time that I was going through my own personal issues with the mother of my child at the time. And I felt like I wanted to do something for men. There was something wrong with the system that they were going through, and I wanted to do something to help the men that I saw be better fathers, better partners, better community-minded people. And so I've heard in our conference several times this notion that I am. And so I want you to know that I am a man, right? But I am also a father. I am also a husband. I'm also a son. I'm also a grandfather. I'm also an uncle. I'm a mentor. I'm loving. I'm compassionate. I am. And in the midst of all of those things, I love women. I love my mother. I love my wife. I love my sisters. I love my auntie. I love you. And this whole notion of family, talking about family, cannot continue to move on if we don't talk equally about the contributions of both men and women to the nourishment and upbringing of our children. How many of you agree with that? Come on, I need some claps. I need something going on, right? And so this would be so much better if it was actually working. You would see some really cool stuff I did. But anyway, so when we're having this conversation about family, oftentimes we talk about the dynamics of family, we talk about the research, we talk about everything that's taking place, and we define what family looks like in our countries and in our community. But we fail to do one thing when we do that. We don't have this very critical conversation, and that is, what is family? Good. What is family? What are we talking about? Are we talking about mothers and children? Are we talking about uncles and aunts? Are we talking about a village of people who care for children? Are we talking about whatever we want to talk about? But who are we talking about when we talk about families? So let me tell you what happens in the U.S. when we talk about families, since that's where I was born and raised, and that's the paradigm that I know, and I'm sure that it happens in many other countries, at least as I've heard what has taken place so far at this conference. It has shown itself to be true for me. The many times that I've heard us talk about family, particularly in the U.S., when we define family, oftentimes we define family as women and children. Is that correct in many countries? When you hear folks talk about family? And it's very difficult to talk about the nurturing of families if you only concern yourself with mothers and children, because I submit to you this: at some point in that relationship, a man was there. He may not be there now, but at some point he was there, and he had a critical job in creating that child. And so when we talk about family, we have to talk about family with the inclusion of both mothers and fathers if we expect to have awesome children. And so this is a formula that often works for me when I see it play itself out in our communities, and that is that nurturing mothers plus providing fathers equal healthy parenting. If you times healthy parenting by love, the result is some awesome children. Right? Yes? No? Yes? Well, look at that little thing right beneath children. What does it say? Most of the time. Sometimes you could do everything you could possibly do for your kids, and how many of you have had that kind of kid? You've raised them, you've loved them, you've done everything you possibly can do to them, but somehow they didn't turn out to be awesome. At least your definition of awesome. Maybe their definition of awesome, but not yours. Let's go to the next one. And so, when we have these conversations internationally about families, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what we've seen around the world, we've begun to start stripping apart, having conversations relative to both fathers and mothers. And I was going to do the flip chart, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to have you respond to me. Tell me something great about mothers. Anything, anybody. Unconditional. Superwoman. Loving, caring. Come on, give me some more. Multitaskers, give me some more. They know everything. Give me some more. Mothers, give me some more. No more? It got to be some more. They're always right. They're always right. Those are great things about moms, right? Right. All right, so tell me some great things about fathers. Say that again? Did you hear? Well, hold on a minute. Wait. Just hold on, because I got to address this answer. She said money. And that's okay when he has some money. It's not okay when he don't have any money. But that is a great thing about dads. What else is great about dads? Provider. Challenging. Advisor, security. What else? Advice, and I heard something else. Okay. My point is, we can find something good about both mothers and fathers. So if I can gather you in this room, an international group of people from all over the world with all kinds of diverse backgrounds, mothers and fathers yourselves, uncles and aunts yourself, sons and daughters yourself, how come when we talk about family, we cannot include the notion that fathers are critical in the lives of our children? When y'all go home, y'all going to think about that, right? And so this work that we do, next screen, this work that we do with fathers is a very sensitive work, right? And it's sensitive because when I talk about fathers, I have to do some prerequisite talking so that everybody is clear on what we do, right? And so let me make a couple of statements so that those of you who are in the room saying this guy's up there talking about men, we didn't come here to talk about men, we came to talk about women and children. I'm going to change your paradigm in this workshop, okay? Pro-fatherhood does not mean anti-motherhood. The notion that I want to build the capacity of fathers to be better parents doesn't mean I want to take anything away from the loving, nurturing responsibility of mothers. But what I want you to understand is that if I can build them both equally and have mutual respect for each other and mutual love for each other and be able to build on their families and build on their lives to which they have the goal of ensuring that they have awesome children, then I have to work with both of them at the same time. Does that make sense? And so the work that we do around the world is just that. Looking at what does responsible fatherhood and healthy manhood look like around the world. Next slide. Before you do the next slide. Mandela, rest in peace, said this. This was something that I found this morning, and it was so appropriate for this conversation. He said, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. But if you talk to him in his language, it goes to his heart. And this is why this is important. Because for most men, it's very difficult to get to our hearts, but it's very easy to get to our heads. And you have to do less work in order to influence what we think than you have to do in influencing how we feel. Does that make sense? I can change what you do if I can change how you think. Does that make sense? I can change what you do if I can change how you think, which means if I can educate you, I can change the things that you can do. But if I don't change how you feel, you think differently about the things you've been educated about. Thus, you behave differently. The reason you have to talk to a man's heart is because you want to begin to change him at the root, to then begin to think differently so that he does differently. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Did I lose anybody? Do I need to back up and go over that again? Right? I can change what you do if I can change how you think. I can change how you think if I can change how you feel. Right? Love is an emotional feeling. It's not something you think about. It's something you feel. So if I can get you to understand this notion of love and peace, which is a feeling, I can get you to change how you think about each other. And if I begin to change how you think about each other, I can then get you to change what you do to each other. Does that make sense? And I'm way off my script now, but I felt like I had to go down that road with you so you understand clearly why it's important for us to begin to include fathers in this conversation of family. Next slide. And so in America, our numbers look like many countries around the world with respect to our children. There's a leaflet that's going around, and I saw the leaflet, and I'm not sure whose leaflet it is, but there's a stat on the leaflet that says 41% of all children are born into single-family households in America. That means our children in America, for the most part, are being born into uncommitted households. So when Dr. Gandhi and Dr. Rai talks about marriage, when you are not married, it means you are uncommitted. Does that make sense? And so when you have a country who is uncommitted to each other as couples, they also become very uncommitted to the children that they bear. And so out-of-wedlock households for us in America is critically important, and so much more important in African-American communities because 73% of our babies are born into single-family households. 53% of Latino families in America are born into out-of-wedlock households. 35% of Caucasian white babies are born into out-of-wedlock households. 41% across the board. And that number is important to us because what research and statistics say is that those children will probably, after 5 years of age, spend little to no time at all the rest of their lives with their fathers. Something happens when we don't make a commitment to each other in the beginning before we have children. Fathers versus fatherhood. You notice that when I talk about fathers, that I use the term fatherhood, there's a difference between fathers and fatherhood. Our president says all the time, any fool could be a father. But it takes a man to take care of a child and engage in fatherhood. Fatherhood means the act of being a father. You don't engage in fatherhood if you're not acting like a fatherhood. So when I say responsible fatherhood, I'm talking about the man who engages in fatherhood in a responsible manner. Is that I'm building up? Oh, you guys still with me? Because I only have 5 minutes to go. And so fatherlessness and father absence for us is critically important. Direct services. If we're going to build the capacity of men around the globe, we have to look at services that work just as well for men as they do for women. fathers need services as well. Cradle to the grave prison, that's something that you hear a lot in America. I haven't heard that internationally, but what it really means is there are children, at-risk children in our community that literally are on a path from the cradle to the grave. They're poor. All kinds of indicators are in their lives that indicate to us that that's the path they're going to take. Let's go to the next slide. And these are some of the societal barriers that our fathers are dealing with, much like Dr. Gandhi had in her slide where she talked about some of the issues that we deal with as a family, where individually fathers deal with somewhat the same kinds of issues. The biggest one in our country tends to be employment. And one of the words that you use with respect to what makes a father great is providing. It's very hard to provide without provision. If you can provide some things, but for the most part in this world, money means something. Being able to work means something. Having a craft means something. Having a skill means something that gives a man the ability to provide. The human nature of men is to provide and protect. That is our human nature. Human nature of women is to nurture and love. Now, neither of those mean that women can't protect and provide and men can't nurture and love. The human nature is for us to do one, but our human ability allows us to do both. Does that make sense? Are y'all learning something here? I'm just like speaking to the back of the wall. Y'all getting this? All right? And so many of these issues in our country are issues that our fathers are dealing with, and we're trying to look for social paradigms and social work that allows us to be able to deal with the things that serve as barriers for fathers to be the kind of men that they need to be in the lives of their families and in the lives of their children. Child support is a system in our country that makes our fathers financially responsible for their children. That is tied up in the legal system. Education is a huge issue in our country as it is around the world. Men with incarcerated backgrounds, relationship building, parenting, substance abuse, housing, conflict resolution, and the list goes on and on and on. But what we're talking about is men in our country with a complexity of issues. It's not just single fold. And so many times when they don't have a job, they don't just not have a job. They got some other stuff going on with them too. And if you don't have the services to help them with the other things, it's very difficult to get them a job. Does that make sense? Next slide. Next slide. So around the world, we have been, and we have seen some very interesting things with respect to fatherhood around the world. Next slide. Oh, let's go back a minute. I have to show everybody my lovely son. The little boy on the right-hand side, that's my namesake, Kenneth Jr. He was, I think, 2 years old now. He is now 5 going on 50. So he's a challenge. And that's my nephew on the left-hand side. Next slide. And so part of my work began in an NGO called the W. Haywood Burns Educational Center, where we did work in South America, particularly Panama and Costa Rica, working very closely with the Panama Canal Authority and the Southern Caucus of the United Nations, really looking at community restoration. And so a lot of times when you hear people talk about environment, they're talking about air, land, and water. And what we did is we expanded the definition of environment, because environment is more than land, air, and water. It's family, it's work, it's health. As Dr. Gandhi had in one of her slides, the environment is much more broader and complex than just air, land, and water. And so that was one of the strategies that we used in Panama to begin to strengthen families. Next slide. These are just pictures of some of the work that we did in Panama. As you can see, one of our main focuses was to really look and to see how fathers interacted with the children and their families in communities. And oftentimes what we saw is that, you know, mothers and fathers who have disagreements have very strong disagreements, not because they hate their children. They have strong disagreements because they intensely love their children. And I think if we begin to start playing on the fact that they're fighting because they love, then they might hate each other. Right? That's a whole nother workshop. You do that later. Right? but they both love their children. And somehow we have to find a way to begin to start capitalizing on the love that they have for their children. Next slide. And then we're going to wrap it. We're going to roll through these. We did some work in Nigeria in 2011. They partnered with us in a campaign called the Year of Responsible Men, where internationally we really tried to use the entire year of 2011 to promote responsible men. Next slide. One of the things that they did for our organization was had one of the schools, they had a father bring your child to school day in Nigeria. And on the day that the fathers came to school, they dressed all their children in blue, which happened to be the color of our campaign. And so I was very touched by that. Next slide. About a month ago, we were in Ghana doing community restoration work in Ghana. It's a literacy empowerment organization, but my work over there was parental engagement and community engagement. How do we get parents and community involved in the education of their children? Oftentimes in Ghana, what we saw with respect to their fathers was men had to move from the village to another village in order to work. And when they moved to another village, oftentimes when they moved to the other village, as sometimes often we do as men when we leave our family and go to another village, what do? Start another family. And then they leave that village and they go to another village and then they start another family. And by the time they're 4 families down the line, they've forgotten about the one that they started back here. And so all of those things could be rectified, but we found that not only in Ghana, but we also found that in Mongolia when we was there 2 years ago. Next slide. Like I just said, I was in Mongolia. We worked with the University of Mongolia to really look at how to create a system to provide services for families. Interestingly enough, about Mongolia, anyone here from Mongolia? No one? Last year we had a few people from Mongolia. Interesting thing about Mongolia is they don't have a state or national service system that provides support for men and women. They rely solely on NGOs to provide that kind of services for the folks in Mongolia, and we were there to help them establish that system. Next slide. Those are pictures of us in Mongolia. People still don't believe that I held the eagle in my hand. Can you see me holding the eagle in my hand? I don't believe I did that. And so, next slide. And so we're going to be creating what we're calling the International Fatherhood Alliance. And the alliance is going to look at partnering with companies across the globe and helping us to assess the impact of fatherlessness, to understand manhood, to understand family dynamics, to create a repository of global fatherhood research and resources to begin to start feeding the rest of the world with respect to manhood, provide capacity buildings for organizations who are looking to engage in initiatives to help promote and educate the imagery of responsible fathers, and to create tools for international fatherhood programs. The one thing that's not on here is next year we're going to roll out an international campaign that I hope that all of you will want to be engaged in, and this is the first time that I'm talking about this publicly. I've been writing about it for 3 or 4 months, and now I'm ready to kind of talk about it. But the campaign is called Men Plus. Men Plus. And the notion of Men Plus is we are men plus fathers, plus uncles, plus cousins, plus sons, plus nurturers, plus providers, plus. We're not just men. We are more. And all of those pluses aren't positive. Some of those men are, no, we won't go. You know where I'm going with that one, right? There's some minuses to the plus, and we have to figure out how to deal with the minuses and the plus. The next one. We are also the manager of the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse in the U.S. That is under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. As the contractor for the clearinghouse, we also provide technical assistance, and we oversee President Obama's fatherhood and mentoring initiative. So we're proud of that. Next slide. Here are some resources. If anyone wants this slideshow, this presentation, take my card and reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to email you this PowerPoint. Next slide. And so here's some of my other information, my time. I'm about 5 minutes over, and I'm sorry about that. But I will say, I want to end with this. This whole notion that one family under God. I really believe that there's an opportunity for us to do greater family strengthening work in faith-based institutions around the world. And here's why. I'm a Christian myself, and I talk to my church all the time about family strengthening, about responsible fatherhood. They get it, and so they understand it. But because I'm there, because I'm always hammering it in their head, so they get it. And I'm trying to create disciples out of them so that they can go out and do this work, and I don't have to go everywhere. But here's where I started with them. How can you come to church each Sunday and profess to understand a relationship with the Father, but not understand a relationship with a father? Some of y'all are going to get that later when y'all leave, right? But when you're talking about this family strengthening work and the whole basis and foundation of what we believe in oftentimes is grounded in the notion of family. Mothers, fathers, children, cows, sheep, dogs, cats, birds, and everything else that's part of the family paradigm is a part of that. And I think that if we can find a way to begin to start there, we can start a lot of places. We can start in school, we can start in hospitals, we can start at conferences like this, we can start in a lot of different places. But if we can start there, in addition to beginning to engage men around the country in raising their voices in support of women's issues. Because oftentimes around the globe, and even in the U.S., when we talk about things like domestic violence, human trafficking, and the other issues that direct oppression and the other issues that directly impact our women, oftentimes we don't talk to the very entity that is mostly responsible for it in the first place, and that's men. And that's not an indictment on men. What it is an accountability mechanism that says that for those of us in this room, for all the men in this room, please stand up. Please stand up. All of you. All of the men stand up. So ladies, look around, look at these men in the room. Look at these men in the room. The men in this room do not match the societal profile of men that we promote across the globe. These are men here at this conference who understand the critical importance of peace, the critical importance of family, the critical importance of commitment, and the critical importance of God. We are one family under God, not just the men who are standing up, but the women who are sitting down. And the reason that I had you stand up is because we need to begin to show our women that we have the ability to stand up. Thank you.
So what are the roles or mechanisms that the government around the world should take in dealing with these things? How should individuals and society perceive this? And the law will be the only deterrent tool that all of us should use for this sort of thing. And from which perspective that this law should follow? Religious, guidance, logic, or what?
Who would like to respond to that question?
So I'll give mine. Just because I finished talking, I want to drink some water and not say anything for a minute, but I will respond to your question. And I think that laws are just one way to begin to change the paradigm on how we look at family structures around the world, particularly in this fast technology environment. You know, one of the things that I've learned from my children, I have two of my children. I have a 14-year-old girl and a 22-year-old girl. And one of the most difficult things in keeping up with them is keeping up with their technology. And so just when I think I got it, they're off to something else. And it's very difficult to keep up with them if you're not connected to what's going on with youth. But I really believe that when we use the term laws, that we really have to speak about it in a broader sense. Because there's a law of the land, there's a law of your household, there's a law of your community, and there's a law of your personal self. And I don't think that we can do this work unless we address all of those laws at the same time. Because oftentimes we sit back and we wait for someone to change the law, thinking that that's going to affect the way that we respond to society. And if you don't change yourself, nothing that a law will ever do will change what happens in your own household. So I think that we all have the responsibility. Yes, there's some laws and policies around the world that definitely need to change. There's some oppressive cultures and oppressive natures that really need to change. But until we begin to change the laws across the board, it's going to be very difficult to keep up with how quickly our world is changing. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you. I would just add on to what Kenneth said, but we also look at being let's say from a Malaysian perspective, religion is a very important aspect of our lifestyles, the way our laws are taking place and all that. So, but I feel that, of course, what is happening internationally is also beginning to sweep across our country, and we have to be able to defend the concept and definition of family, which is a marriage between a man and a woman based on our religion and culture. And I hope I'm not going into dangerous territory, but I hope we will stick to that. Yeah. But at the same time, also there's pressure saying that from the human rights angle, you have to look at it from individual rights and all that. But I would strongly suggest that we need to be able to defend our stand on our definition of family, and it's guided by our religious principles and values and all that. So maybe my personal take, I will still go for the traditional definition of family. Yeah.
Okay, another question?
Yes, I have to add one thing more. Actually, wherever the law is made, approach is always stopping something. Unless and until we make ourselves disciplined, we make ourselves sensible with regard to the family system, family values, it won't be possible for law to control all these things. And as Dr. Anjali told you, religion definitely has a very important role to play to continue this family system. Every religion, what is a religion? Every religion tells you about how to lead life, a way of life. Whether it is Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, every religion tells you a way of life. no religion is bad. No religion tells you do violence. No. Violence is always prohibited in every religion. Every religion tells you a particular style of life, way of life, certain values. Every religion speaks about love, sacrifice, donation, compassion. Sorry. So we will have to inculcate our. Why don't you go back to your own religion? We should adopt our own values through the study, through the adoption of own religion. If we respect our religion, we respect our religious values, definitely we will respect our family. Definitely then we will be able to control not only our family. The entire world can rest in peace only if we respect our family. If you don't love your children, if you can't love your wife, you can't love your father and mother, how can you love the whole world? The problem is there. We will have to make ourselves self-disciplined. We will have to control ourselves. Law can prevent you from doing some wrong. Law can be punitive. But until and unless we are self-disciplined, unless we adopt our religious values, our cultural values, we don't have respect for them, the peace will be possible.
Okay, let's see if we can get one more question in.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ding Hua from National University of Malaysia. My question is going to dedicate to Dr. Anjali. Just now she shared something about the progress and policy that were carried out to promote the relationship among the family. I just would like to ask, since like a lot of us are not aware the existence of these kind of programs, so what are the initiatives taken to make sure that this program is promoted among the Malaysians? And also, what are the initiatives taken to ensure that there are 40% male participating in this kind of program? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I admit maybe in terms of promotion, we have to go beyond our comfort zone and start promoting our programs. But if you go onto our website, it's available on what our programs we have. On increasing male participation, like you said, we have developed modules where we talk about, let's say, our parenting at work module. One component is on fathering and mothering. So we give equal importance to both their roles. They have different strengths and different inclination in terms of the father's role and mother's role, but both are equally important. So that's the message we give. And we also have a specific module on fathering as well, just for fathers themselves, because sometimes it could be due not because they don't want to play a role, maybe it's due to tradition or old culture or styles of behavior. But once they have the awareness, the knowledge, the skills, and I think especially modern day fathers, they too want to be active fathers, not just providers. I would say the definition maybe not, because mothers are also providers today, fathers also provide. So there is a blending of their roles. Maybe we know rigid father's role, mother's role, it's the parent's role. So I hope you go to a website, or you can always contact me, and we do have programs for all sectors of society. Yeah. We do have our programs in newspapers with other departments and universities, but I apologize if you. Thank you.
That we know in the U.S., particularly working with men and fathers, is websites, flyers, and radio announcements and TV ads don't work for us. You got to find us where we are. And then you got to hold our hands, and then you got to bring us to the place, and then you got to sit there and wait with us until we become both comfortable and trustful of where we are. And it's a long road to do it, but once you begin to do it, once men become the mouthpiece for your program, a man will go tell another man, and he will go based off of the strength of his friend who happens to be a man who went, because I don't believe it's true until he tells me. Right? That's just, it's the reality of our nature. And so when you do fatherhood programs, part of the outside of the box stuff for us is that you literally, and you have to go to places where they're receptible of the message. For instance, if I'm sitting at home watching a football game, don't talk to me about going to a program. Right now, I'm focused on a football game, right? But if I'm sitting down, not really engaged in anything, and I'm doing something, that's the time that you get to me. Because a lot of programs think that we got to go to the basketball court, the football field, we got to go to those places where men. No, don't go those places, right? Go get them individually, get them in schools, community centers, those kind of places where we're more open to hearing what you have to say. And that was just wanted to give you that as a strategy, because we, even in the U.S., we struggle with that, and we struggle with it. And don't be discouraged when you do a program and your goal is 40%, but you only got 10. Right? Now, I know that we got grants, you got to get numbers, and you got to do all those things. I understand that. But if you really want to build a program that men are going to respect and respond to, you have to start with 1. Eventually, you'll get to 40, but you got to start with 1.
Thank you. My name is Kennedy from Nigeria. I'd like to ask about commitment, if I understand what about. In fact, virtually all the panelists have talked about commitment to the family is very, very critical for everyone as a family member to play their roles. And this race for materialism, this race in technology, this modeling up of cultures across the world, this globalization, put together is having a very, very negative impact on our individual commitments to the family. The question is, in fact, I even heard an intriguing part of the introduction of Dr. Rai. He said something about dowry, against dowry or something, removal of dowries. It's quite intriguing. Maybe I would see him after the service, the meeting. You know, dowries, by the way, I know are cultural ways of ensuring commitment from the man, you know, most of the time. Except that I heard there are some dowries in the reverse order in your place. Now, how do you ensure commitment for the long haul? Especially, sir, Fatherhood Incorporated, for the man. It's easy for the man in love today to make a commitment for the lifetime. He probably never intended to break his commitment, right? But 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, you said they move from one village to the other, they start other families. Yeah, very, very practical. Now, how do we deal with this reduction in commitment as the years go by? I think I better stop here.
So let me tell you how I do it, right? So I told you that I have a 14-year-old and a 22-year-old. 14-year-old, at least as far as I know, doesn't like boys yet, but she could be lying to me. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any evidence of boys, and I've asked several times, and she continues to deny it, so I'm just going to believe that she's not interested in boys yet. But that's not the case for my 22-year-old. And she's in college now, but she still lives at home. But here's what she knows. You can hang out with him, but the minute that your investment is not returned, I need to see him. And I tell her what that investment is. The investment is 3 weeks. Your investment is time. Because if you can't get an answer out of him in 3 weeks on what he's going to leave on the table, then you need to bring him to me so I can find out what he's putting on the table. And that relationship now becomes between me and him, not her and him. Does that make sense? Because when I was growing up in Brooklyn, I used to go to North Carolina to my family, and there used to be this room inside of the house that had white carpet on it, and we could not go into that room. And later on in life, I learned that that was what they called the courting room. And all of my cousins, both male and female, who dated had to court in that room. And the first question that my aunt and uncle asked when they came in was, "Who's your family?" Who is your family? Because when they learned who your family were, they learned what your potential could be. And oftentimes now we don't go that deep. And so I heard this term, and I'm in here, I heard this term the other day called situationship, right? And situationship, what the term means is that people no longer engage in relationships, they engage in situationships. They're together not based on relation, they're together based on situation. And that situation drives what they do. So my notion is parents have to take control of early relationships so they don't turn out, so that we establish the commitment before they establish the situationship that ends up being your situationship and your relationship. Does that make sense?
Thank you all for being a great audience, and thank the panelists.